Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to another office hours here on hosting.com's Agency Success. My name is Nathan Ingram, and I'm the agency trainer here at hosting.com. And every week we get to open up the doors of the virtual office and let you ask whatever you would like. So glad you're all here, and I look forward to answering your questions today. I was explaining to the folks in the pre-show that one of the things we demoed last week and one of the answers to one of the questions was about how to lock your site down when you're doing development, or maybe it's a dev site, that sort of thing. And I showed the password protection feature of admin site enhancements, which is a great way to lock your site down. And I forgot to unlock WP Nathan. So you've had no opportunity to ask any questions since last week's office hours. And I just noticed that this morning. So there's 2 questions in the list now, just 2 questions. So if you've got a question you'd like to ask, I would invite you to do so. And the link to do that is in the chat, along with the download for this week's weekly brief. And let's get right to it, shall we? So just a few interesting things have happened since we last talked last week. Let's get into them. So I mentioned this a bit last week about the decline in WordPress market share. Search Engine Journal did an article on this that kind of broadened the scope a little bit to show the 6th straight months of decline for WordPress. So this is something to pay attention to. And you may remember a few years ago, we were on this upward rocket of, every time, every quarter, WP3 Techs would release a new usage survey. WordPress just kept inching up, 1, 2, 3% at a time, and grabbing 44, 45%. Some, depending on the source, would say over 50%, big time market share for WordPress. However, it has been in decline for 6 straight months now. So it slipped from 43.2% in December to 41.9% by late May. And you may look at that and say, it's just 1.3%, but that's a lot, y'all. That's a lot of websites represented. And this is definitely a trend that we need to pay attention to. The pace of the drop has doubled since December, while Wix, Shopify, and Squarespace have each picked up modest gains. And the Astro framework, which is a static site framework, has grown sharply. Matt Mullenweg commented on this in an X thread where he said, "It's almost like it needs more investment. I wonder who could have predicted that." So here's a chart, and this looks like a giant slide, but just we're zoomed in here between 43.5% at the top and 41%. But you can see there's a decline happening here that we need to pay attention to. And all of the other competitors, down here, Webflow and Duda have remained the same, but there have been small gains in Squarespace, in Wix, and most importantly in Shopify. Everybody else is kind of nudging up. So this is definitely something to pay attention to, and especially Astro. The number of downloads of Astro every month has almost doubled since January. And again, this is something to pay attention to as WordPress market share continues to drop. In the meantime, there is interesting WordPress development along the way. Gutenberg 23.3 just recently shipped a few days ago, and it's added a couple of interesting things. Now, if you have a dev site you can play around with, I'd recommend dropping in there and taking a look at the latest version of Gutenberg. I have it active here on this site, and what you do is go to the Gutenberg menu item that appears when you've activated the actual Gutenberg plugin. Go down here to Experiments, and this is where you can toggle on the certain things that they're playing with and adding to Project Gutenberg that will ultimately probably be merged into Core. So I've turned on a couple of things here, the media modal upload toggle, and then down here also the new dashboard experience. So this dashboard experience is what I want you to see first, and this is likely going to be merged into core WordPress, either at the net at 7.1 or 7.2, and Gutenberg puts a new beta icon up here for you to see what it looks like. And as we click into it, what you'll see is, it's a little different. It's a little cleaner. This is a little more modern looking, but more importantly, here, this customize option These are all widgetized and with the ability to drag, drop, move around. It's a nice interface here. We can delete things. We can add widgets. There's a really nice interface. And what you can imagine here is plugin developers and others will patch into this and be able to add their own widgets into your available dashboard widgets interface, which that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. So this is coming. You can play with it now in the Gutenberg plugin by toggling on that experimental dashboard. Now, here's something else that they have changed. And I'm just going to create a post. Gutenberg doesn't like the Yoast plugin. I'm just going to add an image using oops, didn't mean to do that. Add an image using the what in the world? Come on. Something is, I don't know why is this? Something is unfavorable with me. Let's just click here and add an image. How about that? All right, let's just add an image from the media library and one of these sample images, and let's hit select. And now look what we have here. There are a number of different options here that now let us scale and deal with media in a modal, which is kind of cool. This is a really nice experience. We can also choose different aspect ratios, and make it look like we want it to look. And we can save that. And that's what's going to drop into our post. Look at that. That's kind of neat. I do like that because the current media library editing experience is lousy and has been for many years. And so it's great to see some of this is making its way into the core WordPress. So pretty neat. Gina's asking, can you crop differently to device size? I don't think so. That may, well, what you could do is hide, like have two images and hide one on various device sizes. But that would be hidden with CSS. So it would actually add both images in the DOM. So yeah. Anyhow, interesting little advancements there in Gutenberg, and I kind of like them. Here we go. Take a minute or 10 minutes. Took me about 10 minutes today to do this survey. Here is the annual State of the Community 2026 survey from the WP Community Collective. Now, WP Community Collective is different than official WordPress core community. This is a third-party entity that's run by some wonderful people who I enjoy, and they're putting this survey together. So I would invite you to take it. Take about 10 minutes, and that will give them some great information about the WordPress community and what's going on. It is anonymous, by the way. This is a fun story. OpenAI announced earlier this week that one of their AI models has cracked an 80-year-old math problem. So this is what was called the Erdos assumption or the Erdos problem. It's a very nerdy mathematical thing. But basically, the AI tool took a completely different approach to solving this problem using some kind of algebraic something or other and changed the view of how this problem should be solved. And it's pretty amazing. And basically changed something that's been in place almost 80 years, assumptions that this original mathematician made. So this is an interesting read if you're interested in AI at all. And what it really emphasizes to me is AI does a great job at thinking outside the box and systematizing lots of information that a single human brain just can't do very well. And so I don't know, it's an interesting read, and it I think is a sign of more and more things to come as AI continues to move forward. Okay, speaking of AI, I'm pretty excited about this one. This is a new feature from the WooCommerce team called the AI Product Advisor. Now, if you run a WooCommerce store, you probably want to listen up for this because this is their core WooCommerce approach to optimizing product and store using AI. And it's pretty smart. Now, the one downside for this is the fourth bullet point here, which is this currently requires a WordPress.com account and a Jetpack connection, kind of like the WooCommerce services plugin. I don't know how this is going to be monetized or if there is a cost or whatever. Right now, it's totally experimental. It's very beta, and you can just play with it. It is a plugin in GitHub that you can download from the developer blog from WooCommerce. But let me show you what this is going to do, okay? I'm going to click the slide. It's going to start showing a video of their demo, and what it's going to show is a product that they've asked it to tweak, okay? So here we go. We're in the product advisor, and I realize this is kind of small, but here's this product, and okay, it's thinking about what can we do to improve this product in the wording and categorization and those sorts of things. Okay, look, we have some suggestions. So here's our old stuff on the left, new stuff on the right. It's a diff, so you can see in green what's been highlighted. So we're going in and kind of changing some things. Then we apply changes. It updates that product right from this interface. So let's go down here. Oh, here's some taxonomies. Let's change that. We don't want it to be that taxonomy or that one. So let's save it and apply those changes directly back to the product. So it scanned the store, and you go through one at a time. I don't like that suggestion. I'm going to reject it. And so right in here, you have the ability to do all these things, and it's tracking a history of all the things you've done. And you'll even be able to revert changes if you want to go back and change something else. So this is kind of cool. It's really interesting. Now, here's the next bit of this that I really like, and that is this screen, which says, okay, we're going to track this over time. So we made changes on this product, and we expected 2 orders in the next 25 days, and we got 5. So that lifted us 20%. Maybe but it basically lets you say how has the conversion of this product been affected after we made these changes. So that's pretty clever. I really like that. So we'll see how this actually evolves. This is brand new, experimental, very, very, very beta. You probably wouldn't want to put this on a live site necessarily without really watching it if you did it at all. But I love this feature, and I'm happy that it's coming to WooCommerce because I think it's going to make everything better. Pretty cool, right? Okay, moving along. Oh, Terry's asking, I wonder how heavy this is for the site. Probably not at all, because it's going to be connecting AI from the outside, and this is really an internal UI for surfacing information that's already in the database. I can't imagine this is going to be very heavy at all for front-end traffic. Shouldn't matter. Yeah. Okay. I'm a Novamira fan. Y'all have heard me talking about it for quite some time. They just dropped a version on the 2nd. Is that Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday, 2 days ago. Okay. They're moving at a rapid pace, and they have released agent support for 6 more builders: Etch, Divi5, Breakdance, WP Bakery, but Generate Press, Generate Blocks, and Cadence Blocks. I took a flat HTML mockup of a web page and had Novamira build it out with Cadence Blocks. About 7 or 8 minutes, it was done, and it was almost perfect. I was absolutely blown away. And now it's rendered in actual Cadence Blocks with correct settings and so forth. Absolutely blown away by this. So it even went through and set the Cadence style sheet correctly with colors and all of that. Put the fonts in it did all of that in the background. It blew me away. It also works with a code snippets plugin. If you use that, it'll talk to and add code snippets. It also has a WooCommerce connector with stores running WooCommerce 9 or newer. And so the Novamira agent can now read products with detailed filters, create or edit simple and variable products, even adjusting price, stock, SKU, all those things very smartly with predefined workflows within the Novamira plugin. It's pretty amazing. Like it'll even look at your WooCommerce site, look at all your taxonomy, suggest different taxonomy, and make those updates for you. Absolutely crazy. Sue was asking, was it on an existing site that I did this with Cadence? And the answer is no. It was a brand new WordPress install that had Cadence theme and Cadence blocks, and I just let it go to town. So it was a brand new blank WordPress install. It set up the header with the logo and the menu, created all the pages, did all it built the homepage. It blew me away. So these folks are doing amazing things over at Novamira. Sue says, I would love to see your prompt for that. There was no prompt. It's like, here's this template, go build it, and it built it. No kidding. The prompt was the existing HTML mockup that Claude had built for me already. It took all of those things and built it out. Yeah, blew me away. All right. We love AI, but so do hackers. And this is an interesting story where some hackers turned Meta's AI support bot into a takeover tool. So these attackers, as was reported on the Krebs site, they used Meta's AI customer support chatbot to take or to add their own email addresses to high value Instagrams, including the Obama White House account and a senior U.S. military account. They didn't need a breach. They didn't have a stolen password. They just masked their location with a VPN and then talked the bot into skipping the normal confirmation process to add another email account. Now, Meta patched that immediately. And the attack would have failed if there was a multi-factor authentication turned on, which makes you think, why didn't these people have 2FA? I don't know. But this is a thing, and that's what's, AI is brilliant. And I just described a brilliant thing that we just did with AI in our agency. It's also a new attack surface, and you have to be aware of that. So there you have it. Okay, one very important announcement. So if you are multitasking, please turn your task multis to this screen because this is important. Next week, we have a change in schedule. It's just 1 week change, but we have a special office hours event. It's a joint office hours with Agency Hackers, which is a big agency group based in the UK. We'll be shifting our time slot earlier to accommodate the over the pond traffic there. So on Thursday, June 11th, we'll be shifting to 11 a.m. Eastern time for office hours. And that's really early Pacific time. I'm sorry. I know. So 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 for me in Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. But we'll be talking together around how agencies can use AI in client delivery, where it speeds things up, what's the risk, how to price it, what to tell clients about AI, and so forth. So this replaces this office hours next week. So we're just shifting the time slot earlier. There'll likely be a lot more people involved. I'm not sure how the Q&A is going to work yet, but it'll be a joint office hours with me and the Agency Hackers team. This requires a separate registration. Okay, very important. This requires a separate registration. So click this link right there in the Zoom chat, or you can go to our regular link tree and register for it right here, the June 11 special edition of Office Hours. And just to make things easy, let me copy this address and drop it there in the chat. So make sure right now, just click on that, register, and get on that call for next week. I really think this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be some good dialogue back and forth about how in the world do we deal with AI as agencies. And we'll be back to our regular office hours Thursday, 2 p.m. The following week on June 18th. Does that make sense, everybody? So take the time right now while you're looking at this. Just go ahead and register, get yourself on the sign up, and I'll see you there next week, a couple of hours earlier than normal. Well, that brings us to the end here. Let's see, we referred to our special office hours. We do have a really interesting live stream with Daphne from the hosting.com team talking about building your first agentic marketing team with Claude. That's on June the 17th. I'll be talking on June the 23rd about doing a content audit and a process that's AI powered to help you build out content for a new site, like looking at what's there, what needs to be created, how do we do this, and creating a flow that's replicatable in an AI tool. And finally, we just launched this one this week. I am so excited about this. If you've been wondering about MCPs and how they work, we're going to do a hands-on intro to MCP using the new Rocket.net MCP. And we're going to be talking to my website right through Claude and connecting with MCP and showing you how it does all the things related to WordPress. So this is going to be a lot of fun. That is coming up July the 7th. And all of those are waiting for you at upcoming.myagencysuccess.com. I'm going to drop our link bundle in the chat that has the links to all of those things. Okay, well, let's get back to our whole reason for being here, which is many questions. Let's see where we are now in our list. There are only three questions right now in the chat. So if you want to ask a question, use the link in the chat, and we will begin with the question from Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth. So Elizabeth says, I have a friend who decided to clean up her website by herself. Oh, this doesn't sound good. She went in and deleted all the posts she did not want. Okay. She says the images will not delete from the media library. Is this because she deleted the posts? No, those things should not be related. She uses the Avada theme. With my apologies. I'm afraid that Avada loads a lot of extra stuff, and it does. That might still be in the database, and it is. My suggestion to her was to start a brand new site, install the Avada theme herself, and not let the hosting company install WordPress and Avada as a package install. It won't matter. Avada is a Latin word that means bloated. I just made that up, but it's really bloated. It is one of the slowest themes ever. And it's a kitchen sink theme that it just has so many things. Okay. Anyway, so however you install it, it's going to create bloat. So is this a good plan? Should we use the database cleaner to fix the database with the posts that are still good? Okay. So if you're going to use Avada, it doesn't matter. It's going to be bloated. The issue is weird though, that she can't delete media from the library. Okay. So let me ask about this, and then we'll kind of jump up a step to more meta. Do you know, Elizabeth, what's happening when she's trying to delete an image? Does it just refuse to delete the image? You don't know what's happening? So that's going to be hard to diagnose here. Okay. So, I mean, the only time I personally have seen WordPress, okay, maybe two. There's two times that I've seen WordPress not delete an image. And most of the time it's because of weird hosting permissions. And that's, I mean, I could count on one hand how many times I've seen this in 20 years of doing WordPress things, right? It doesn't happen often, but it could be a permissions issue on the folder. Like if she clicks delete and it doesn't delete and it's still there in the media library, then it's more than likely some permissions issue. That would be something she'd have to take up with her hosting company. The other thing it might be is, but she'd still see it move. Like there is a constant in the WP config that you'd have to go in and like manually add. That's like turn media trash on. It's not that, but it's something like that. But it basically adds a trash interstitial step to the delete media process, where by default it's just delete forever. Yes, it's gone. This actually puts it like in a trash can that will then go every 30 days, like posts and pages, and empty itself out. But you would have to specifically turn that on with a piece of code. And my guess is that's not it. It's probably permissions. And that's something she'd need to work out with a hosting company. Now, bigger picture, she just says they won't delete. So it probably, yes, is a permissions issue. And she'd need to talk to her hosting company about that. Now, my bigger question here is why is she deleting a bunch of posts and stuff? What's the point of that? Because like if the site is changing significantly, I would just start over. Yeah. And I wouldn't use Avada. Okay. The site is changing. Okay. Is the domain name changing? A lot of times, if there's significant changes, it is better to just start over again than it is to try to clean up an old site, especially if it's been around for a while and there's a bunch of post meta clutter and stuff in the database. Um, it's so yeah. Then that leads to your second question, which is: does it make sense to use a database cleaner or just try to start over? You There's no one answer. I mean, the answer is the lawyer answer, right? Like it depends. Sometimes it makes sense to start clean. Sometimes it makes sense to clean up what's there. It's really which is the less large pain in the butt is what it comes down to. And only you can judge that based on, what's there. Since there is seeming to be a permissions issue, that would kind of nudge me towards let's wipe this and start again. Um, but yeah, it's really it's a coin toss a lot of times. So Elizabeth saying she knows Avada and the domain name is the same. Yeah, I mean, if she knows Avada and she's happy with it, that's fine. Um, there are toggles in the Avada theme that lets you turn on and off the various features of Avada. You can install it, turn on the builder, which honestly, I mean, from a UI perspective, the Avada builder is really not that bad. It's easier to understand than some of them. But yeah, don't turn on any of the other things. Um, and I don't think it turns on anymore by default, all the different kitchen sink options like it used to. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, you want it running as leanly as possible. So there's at least some direction, Elizabeth. I hope that was helpful. Next up is TJ. Hey, TJ. All right. TJ says, I manage a WordPress site using the Cadence theme for a local nonprofit. The other users who update the website currently to probably more have limited WordPress experience. Of course they do. We put the initial site together in the same environment before it went live, but now that the site is live, I'm reluctant to give the other editors access to the live site for obvious reasons. Yep. The hosting platform, nothosting.com, offers a low overhead means to create a staging environment, which I've given the editors access to for updates. Okay, so I did not give the editors keys to update the live site. I'm already glad I did this because some of their most recent updates were definitely not ready. Yep. It protects the live site, but it's already making the updating side of the house feel tedious, I bet. Some challenges with this strategy I'm already noticing are that it makes me the bottleneck. Yep. Along with the overriding of the live environment each time. Yep. And that's going to be problematic with media and all the yep. Long story short, is a staging environment still a good way to regulate updates and preserve quality control in this situation? Or is there a better way to manage this workflow with more granular user roles, validation checks, blah, blah, blah? Yes. Okay. Oh, you're also doing it pro bono. Of course you are. Okay. So let's talk about this. In most cases, except for the most complicated sites, staging sites are way too much trouble. They're just way too much trouble. And you get into these issues of variation. So like, okay, you fork the staging site, they do some stuff over there for a couple of weeks and you go to push it back. Well, what happened to those 5 form entries that were on the live site that were entered? Now they're gone because you overwrote them. It's just, staging sites are great for cloning a site to make some changes, then delete it and get rid of it. There's always an issue, and there always has been with WordPress, and quite frankly, any CMS of you have live and staging data, and how do you get those to link back and forth? That's been the $1 million WordPress problem that nobody's really solved very well at all. Some people have tried, and it's never happened well. So my suggestion is don't make a staging site. So what do you do if they need to make edits on a site? Well, what are they trying to edit? Okay, because if they're trying to do, well, let me just ask, TJ, what are they trying to edit? Is it existing content on a page, or are they building out a landing page for an event or something like that? Both. Okay. Yeah. So for a typical, nonprofit employee, the block editor is horrible for trying to build landing page designs. It's hard to use. Like I've been doing this for 8 million years and I still struggle building design with the block editor. It's my least favorite thing to do because it's the block editor is great for content editing, but when you're trying to build page layouts in the block editor, it's terrible. And so I can, I empathize greatly with a nonprofit user. So what we have to do is realize, okay, if I've chosen to use Cadence or whatever block tool, you do what Melanie just said in the chat, which is you create a template for them that they can just drop into a new page and edit the content. That's the way to do it. Because if you, of course, they're making terrible decisions. Of course, they don't know how to make things look good. Because even if most people, yeah, I'll say that. Most people lack the design gene that just makes things look good. And even those that have that gene are going to struggle to make that actually work and look well in the block editor at all screen sizes. It's incredibly complicated. So it's up to us as the WordPress professionals to build a system that's bulletproof ish, as bulletproof as possible, to make the average nonprofit worker's job go smoothly and preserve quality. So that's hard work. It just is. So, TJ, does that help at all? Staging site just gives you more complexity, more trouble than it's worth. And what you can even do is, you could have them build on an unpublished page, and then that can be copied over into another page later, that sort of thing too. But you want to try to build as many block patterns and templates and that sort of thing that they can just drop in and use rather than having to try to build something from scratch. It's so hard to do in the block editor. Yeah. Okie dokie. All right. That, by the way, is the reason we've still not moved to blocks for agency work. We tried a few times, and the block editor is just miserable for doing page building. It's just miserable. I'll stand by that. Okay. Terry is next. Oh, pausing. Bonnie, great question. Is there a situation where a staging site does make sense? Yes, for testing. So yeah, we just made a staging site for a client earlier this week because it's a complicated WooCommerce and membership site. We need to test some code. And so we made a staging site, make sure everything works, blew that away and applied the changes to live. So that's where a good staging, that's a good situation for a staging site. The only other time to do a staging site is if you are certain that if you're actually going to push that back to live, that there's not going to be anything overwritten that you need on that live site. Because doing a diff back and forth to figure out, well, this, somebody logged in and added a blog post over here, or they changed the featured image on that page over there, and to get that over on the dev side or on the staging site, that's complicated. It is complicated. And so Terry, the word for that is code freeze. And so you have to let people know they can't touch the live site. But even with a code freeze, maybe there's form entries or orders or, whatever, any other transactional content that's happening on the live site is not going to be there. So we only use staging for testing. Kristen, that's a great point. A plugin like Simple History will let you see what they actually changed. You know what would be interesting? This is me wondering out loud. I wonder what it would be like to attach an AI tool with an MCP to staging and live and let the AI tool do the diff. It might do that. Huh. That might be interesting. Okay. Now, moving on to Terry. Hey, Terry. Terry says there was a plugin mentioned sometime back where you can annotate comments on WordPress staging sites so clients can give feedback directly. Oh boy. We use a tool for that. Bug herd. Oh, this is cool. Yes, I do remember seeing this. I think, did we do this on the last plugin roundup? We might have. I believe we did this on the last plugin roundup. Okay, so the question is, what was that plugin, or is there another one? Yeah, so this is the one I think we mentioned. We use a little tool called Simple Commenter. It was an AppSumo deal a million years ago to do this, and it's quite good. Yeah. So this is the one we recommended in office hours. Um, and we use Simple Commenter, simplecommenter.com. It's great. It's not a specifically WordPress tool. It embeds with a script, but you can use it anywhere, which we found kind of cool. There are a bunch of tools that'll do something like this. Simple Commenter is just simplecommenter.com. And yeah, somebody's mentioning Atarim. Atarim is also this is kind of what they started with to build their empire. Yeah, Simple Commenter does have a WordPress integration, but it's just as easy to add. I mean, all the Simple Commenter WordPress plugin does is add the little script, which you can do yourself pretty easily. If you can paste a script somewhere, you can do it. Atarim does a lot more than these content evaluations now. They've kind of become, they've evolved into a platform for agencies that it does many, many things. Good folks, and it's an interesting tool. Okay, next up, Terry, is that good? Did you get? Are you satisfied there? It is real. By the way, really, really cool to just let your clients point at something and type a "what I don't like about it" message, and then deal with it all at once instead of 800 emails. It's really nice. Atarim is ATARIM dot something dot io. Atarim.io. Okay. Next up is TJ. And let's see, we're down to just 2 questions left. So if you have a question to ask, I invite you to do so. All right. TJ says, given the continued decrease in WordPress market share and increased popularity of other platforms and AI site builders, is WordPress becoming overkill in cost and efficiency for simpler sites, say with 1 to 3 editors? I'm thinking specifically of portfolio and brochure sites for artists and small businesses. Are platforms like Webflow and Astro becoming more viable in terms of time and money cost, scalability, especially for site owners who want some control of their own sites and the ability to manage more clients with less time? Thanks for your insights. Okay. It's a great question. Okay, so have you ever used Astro before? Because it's not friendly for the typical user. So the fork in the road for me right now is, okay, does anybody ever, are they ever going to log in here and edit this thing? If so, it's WordPress is still going to be the best, because if somebody needs to log in and edit it, then they're gonna they're gonna need, you're gonna be in WordPress anyway, and there's really nothing that's better than WordPress to do that right now, especially for those of us that are already doing it. It's our bread and butter. We understand it, right? Now, the question becomes more like, what if it's just a brochure site or a one-page landing page or whatever, and it's just there, this is not a client that's ever going to want to edit their site or whatever? Those are the kinds of situations where you might scratch your head and say, I don't know, maybe this doesn't need to be in WordPress after all. We just had a pretty rich discussion about this in my AI mastermind earlier today. And I tell you, I'm scratching my head on this because I do not change my stack, or my tech stack frequently at all. I am dragging my heels on that because I don't want to support a lot of platforms. But gosh, it's becoming so easy-ish. That's even a misnomer. It's easier than ever. How's that? To just build a site right out of an AI tool and push it up to the web as a static HTML site. Now, the problem, that solves a lot of problems. There's not a huge security footprint there. You don't have a lot of the WordPress speed issues that sometimes pop up. We lose a lot of problems that way. However, we also gain, okay, well, what happens if the client wants to leave in the future? Like, well, how do we give them their website? Do they find another developer who knows how to, what is the client actually buying here? And is it sustainable in the future if I die, or if, the client decides they want to work with somebody else? So there are a lot of questions that have to be asked if you're going to move out of a tool that you've been using for a long time, like WordPress, and into something else. Um, it is interesting. I will say though that just this week, I took over a rescue site for a new client. They, I'll just describe this quickly. It was one of these situations where a former employee had built them a one-page landing site in Wix that was pretty terrible. And then that is now a disgruntled employee who took the keys to the Wix site and left and wouldn't talk to him anymore. And so the site's been down, like down since like November. So 5 months of no website. They finally reach out, and this is obviously not a company that depends on the web a lot, but they reach out. We're building a site for them. Claude, this is what Claude did in the course of about 10 minutes. Claude went out to found the old website in the web archive, downloaded all the text, downloaded all the images, downloaded the PDF brochure that was still sitting out there, and built a landing page based on the colors in the logo, single page landing page, and pushed it up to Cloudflare pages in less than 15 minutes. And I'm not going to show the client because I've said too much about them already. But it's decent. Like, is it the best thing ever? No. Is it more than serviceable? Yes. It looks great. It's fine. Now, granted, I already had an API key that's local to my machine that let Claude talk to Cloudflare, but it went in there, made all the DNS changes, flipped everything over, created the Cloudflare page and worker and everything, put the images over in the R2 bucket, and it just worked. Took less than 15 minutes. And the landing page is up there. What would have had to do otherwise? I would have had to install WordPress, install some builder, build a page, click, 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 click. And, maybe I could have done that in an hour or two. Probably could have, but it just did it. Billy is asking, did I use Claude Design? No, because I've found that the process that I've built internally for our agency carries that design process as well as Claude Design, and I don't have the limits that Claude Design. It's very, very strict usage limits on Claude Design. Paul, you said you have an API key that is local to your machine. How can one have an API key that is not local to a machine? Don't do that. Because it won't be securely stored. And so I can't speak to PCs or other flavors of computers out there, but on a Mac, there is an environment file that you can store your keys in securely, and Claude just accesses that on the way out. It never reads the key. I don't even understand the tech. The key never gets up to Claude. It just uses that existing credential to access the resource. I don't know. I don't think you could. Maybe there's a way. I haven't investigated it. I would not be comfortable with that. I'm okay at this point of I've got this environment envelope and it can read things out of there as I allow it. And it's doing some amazing things. Like I've got it. It has an SSH connection to a couple of cPanels on our server, and it can write files directly up there. And it's pretty amazing. Okay. Anyway, TJ said that's the type of scalability I'm talking about too. It seems like an opportunity to help more clients faster at lower cost. Could be. Speed is not the issue. Speed and cost. Careful there. The issue is value, not speed and cost. Speed and cost is efficiency and profit. Value is bottom line dollars to you, and that you gotta charge what you're worth. And the fact that it doesn't take you as long doesn't necessarily impact how much you can charge for it. Okay. Next up is Ben B. Hello, Ben. Oh boy. Cadence licenses. Oh, Cadence. All of my licenses were working post branding migration with solid Cadence. Then Monday this week, there's now a licensing issue. None of the sites are connected. Yet all the licenses are working on each site and all the updates have been applied manually. Have you heard of others with this issue? No reply from support. Man, I don't know what the heck's going on over there. I don't have any idea. I have heard other people talking about it. There's another Ben right there in the chat also talking about it. Our sites are currently connected Um, I mean, today, I don't know. All right, this is the last question of office hours. So if you want your question to be the last question of office hours, drop it in there. The link's in the chat. Gene, hey, that's not what you wanted. One more time here. Gene, a plumbing client is taking more of the services I provide and other coworker services in-house. They are being managed by non-professionals learning AI tools. Oh boy, what could go wrong? One of the items is making a rebate ad for Facebook, Instagram. The ads are changing the logo, resizing, sometimes even colors. The stock images are obviously stock with lots of fake smiles. How do I kindly and strongly suggest they change their approach and correct these issues, all while I am screaming inside? The brand is falling apart and direction is changing that was so carefully built over several years of good design and marketing strategy. Oh my. First of all, Gene, I'm sorry. This is a great example of a business owner who probably is only looking at the bottom line and doesn't understand the full scope of what's happening here. Um, I think you probably owe it to the business owner just to have a frank conversation um, and just explain, look, there's reasons why all these things were built. There's reasons why branding is a thing. And these are how it's falling apart. Now, here's the deal. Is it Are they seeing an impact to their numbers and conversions? Because if not, it's going to be a hard conversation. Um, how important is the brand to this plumber? Uh, that's something you can't change that. You can't change how important it is to him or her. You can try to educate, but the things that are important to you in this scenario are not the things that are important to them. They're just trying to make money. And what your job is a level up from this AI garbage. Your job is this is why a brand matters. Because the thing about plumbing advertising is there's two types of people. Like you're getting somebody who has a leak now, right? Or whatever, like plumbing emergency now. And that's really a local SEO play. Or they're asking their friend or neighbor who they use for a plumber. The branding play for plumbers is up the road. So they don't have an urgent issue right now. They've seen the commercial on TV. They've heard the commercial on the radio. They've gotten mailers in the mail, and they've seen this plumber in their advertising, and the brand voice and the logo is familiar and all of that. That's the play you're making for the customer that's a year from now customer, not necessarily the urgent break fix type calls. Um, and that's what the brand of a local service business is all about. And, maybe this plumber is just comfortable with break fix issues. Maybe that's all they want. But if they actually want to build, and if that's the case, crank out all the AI slop you want, whatever. That's really more about presence and volume over branding. Um, but if they're actually wanting to build a brand that lasts and that has trust and will result in multiple, people coming back, more referrals, recognition, then it takes a bigger effort than just cranking out ads with slop. Yeah, Stacy, I would say that a lot. You can't care more about the website than the client does. I mean, you can, but it's counterproductive. You're taking it personally, Gene, because you've invested in this brand for many years, and I totally get that. But here's what we have to realize: he is not rejecting you; he is rejecting a strategy, and he's seeing the glory of AI and supposedly, and that it can do all these things without great direction. And that's AI can be a wonderful tool when it's directed properly. And that's where at this moment, I'm still okay. I'm not afraid of my job, my job being gone today, because AI still requires a competent guide to direct it to the right spot. Even as smart as AI is getting, there's still things that it needs direction. So, what might be interesting here? Um, ads. Okay, so they're doing ads on Facebook and Instagram. What is the conversion rate for those ads? If it's just AI garbage ads and they're really not, they're not effective. Um, because honestly, like I know you would choose a certain stock photo and they've chosen these smiley happy people stock photos, but what's the metrics on the conversions? Because oh, you're saying they're not actually ads, just promos. Oh, they're just posting them on their Facebook page. That doesn't work anyway. That doesn't work anyway. Um, Nobody's like if they're just pasting uh, photos with text in their social media feed. Nobody, that's not going to get prioritized. Facebook, it's not in Facebook's interest to prioritize that in the algorithm. They want that business spending money on Facebook ads. And so, it's that's not going to be effective anyway. Even if you had the most beautiful ads and pictures, it's not going to work. But you could still track conversions and views and just see how many are people clicking through. Or I mean, are they supposed to click these posts or are they just supposed to show up in the feed? I don't know. It sounds like the strategy is off. Oh, they don't click through to the website. It's just, hey, look at our smiling person with a little coupon code or whatever. That's so I would even pause right there and say that strategy doesn't work. That's just people wasting time because that is not going to help. Those are not, let's just say, Gene, do you know how many followers does this plumber have? Ballpark. 300. Oh God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, come on. The if that post was seen by 3 of those 300 people, I would be shocked. It's probably less than that. Seriously, Facebook deprioritizes regular business posts in their algorithm. They just do. Because they want the business to promote the post. And even groups, they've deprioritized all of that, leaning toward they want you to boost posts to get the money flowing in to Meta. Yeah, so I would take a hard look at that whole strategy and go, nope, this is not going to work. And if they actually want something to pay off on social media, it needs to be paid campaigns with some strategy behind them. Do not forget, next week we are changing times to 11 a.m. Eastern Time just for next week as we join agency hackers for a joint conversation all about AI. If you missed that beginning conversation all about that during the weekly brief, you can go right here to upcoming.myagencysuccess.com and sign up for this one-off office hours. It's just once. But you do need to sign up for it because otherwise you won't get the link to join next Thursday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Eastern Time. If you want the slide deck, that is waiting on you in the chat. And we'll be picking up our regular office hours at this time, as always, on the 18th. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour. Hope you have a great tomorrow as the week winds down and a great weekend. I'll see you back here next week on Office Hours here on Hosting.com's Agency Success, where we go further together.